Hidden deep inside the Grand Canyon lies a place that only a few people have ever entered. Hikers call it the Forbidden Zone, a remote area with steep, unmarked cliffs and narrow rock ledges that make it dangerous and almost inaccessible. Recently, scientists discovered something completely surprising beneath one of these hard-to-reach rock ledges. They found a system of enormous underground caves that appear to be neither natural nor created by known human hands. What emerged from this secret space amazes scientists and forces them to fundamentally rethink their previous ideas about the canyon's past and its possible secrets. Before we continue, please click like and subscribe for more news. This discovery began when a group of geomorphologists carried out extremely detailed laser scans of inaccessible cliffs. They were looking for traces of ancient rockfalls and clues about how the stone had eroded over time. On the scans, faint but clearly recognizable outlines of arched rooms appeared, cut into the limestone walls more than 30 meters above the present river level. Researchers then descended with ropes and confirmed that these cavities really existed. One of the rooms measured about 12 meters in length, 6 meters in width, and 4.5 meters in height. Another was somewhat smaller, and a third, deeper room was connected through a narrow passage. Inside, they found ancient objects, stone platforms, carefully placed slanted stones, and faint traces of tools on the walls. It was clear that these structures had not formed naturally. This led to the decisive question: who or what had created them and why? The most astonishing thing was that in one of the rooms, there was a fine, undisturbed layer of soil, perfectly preserved except for one object stuck inside it. This object was a disc, about 30 centimeters in diameter, made from an unusual metal, and marked in the center with a clear hemispherical depression. Initial tests on site showed that the metal contained an unusual mixture with a high arsenic content and tiny amounts of platinum-like elements. Such a material does not occur naturally anywhere in the Grand Canyon region and would have required advanced techniques to produce. The disc lays on a stone pedestal, suggesting that it had been deliberately placed there and perhaps even worshipped. The deeper passage led to a larger chamber that had apparently once been filled with water, possibly a hidden spring fed by ancient underground watercourses. Water lines on the weathered walls showed that the level had once been significantly higher before it dropped long ago. At the rear retreater, there was a niche carved out of the rock in which stood a large stone slab covered with symbols. These signs resembled neither the rock carvings of the indigenous peoples of North America nor European scripts. Their meaning remains unknown, but initial images show repeated loops and circles that could indicate some kind of code. This discovery is of enormous significance. If people created these chambers, and not nature, then it means that an ancient civilization existed that was capable of digging tunnels into the rock and producing special metals with a high arsenic content. That would mean that advanced technological abilities existed in the southwestern United States much earlier, possibly several thousand years ago. It also suggests that different regions previously considered separate may have been connected or may have exchanged technological knowledge. The unusual metal in particular points to a high level of technical skill which had not previously been associated with ancient cultures in this dry region. From a geological perspective, the discovery of the spring chamber is just as astonishing. Within the protective walls of the canyon, shielded from weather, floods, and seasonal changes, a group may have been able to establish a safe shelter there. If they truly chose such a place and cut rooms into the rock, it was far more than just a practical decision. It indicated planning and purpose. It may have been a secret community, a refuge, perhaps used for ritual purposes or as a hiding place. The orientation of the niche and the position of the metal object on its pedestal suggest a cultic or symbolic meaning rather than everyday use. In addition, the larger question arises as to whether these rooms were ever meant for many eyes at all. They are located in a dangerous, hard-to-reach place high above the river, accessible only by steep ropes or a hidden path. This suggests that those who built them deliberately wanted to keep them concealed. These considerations lead to exciting, though still unproven, theories. Could the rooms have been part of a secret order? Did they serve as a refuge, a secret meeting place, or a place for rituals foreign to known cultures? Were they built at a time when it was necessary to hide knowledge, people, or objects? The fascination lies not only in the age or precision of these sites, but also in the fact that they remained completely unknown until now. Because of the steep rock walls and deep valleys, this area remained undiscovered during earlier expeditions. Archaeological teams had no reason to risk the dangerous climbs. This raises the question of how many more such hidden places may still exist, concealed in remote canyons, high rock walls, or densely overgrown areas. This discovery challenges the assumption that all significant historical sites have already been found. Another important aspect concerns trade and the availability of resources in ancient North America. The special metal of the disc suggests that people at that time had access to rare materials and unusual processing methods. This could point to trade relations with regions where such raw materials occurred, or to previously unknown local sources. If more of these metals are found in the surrounding area in the future, the history of metal trade and technological development in antiquity would have to be rewritten. The find shows that the Grand Canyon was not an isolated natural wonder, but part of a larger network of culture and knowledge. It is equally significant that this discovery requires cooperation between different scientific disciplines. Geology, archaeology, and chemistry must work hand in hand to understand the traces of ancient human activity. The tool marks and the shape of the platforms clearly indicate human craftsmanship. Analyses of the rock layers showed that the water cave had once been active. Complex chemical tests are required to determine the exact composition of the metal discs. Future investigations will therefore have to unite teams of cave researchers, geologists, historians, and materials scientists. It is likely that the next exploration steps will require the use of drones, remote sensing, miniature excavations, and laboratory analyses, methods that were previously considered too expensive or too risky. With regard to cultural heritage, this discovery forces a reassessment of the Grand Canyon. It gives additional meaning to the stories of indigenous peoples whose traditions have long patient of hidden places in the canyon walls. Perhaps these stories, which were previously regarded as myths or metaphors, do contain a true core after all. At the same time, the find raises questions. Who is allowed to research such sites? How can they be protected? And what role should indigenous communities play in the investigation and interpretation of these sensitive places, especially because they are difficult to access and easily damaged? This discovery also blurs the line between natural wonder and human work. And, till now, the Grand Canyon was considered primarily an impressive geological formation, shaped by the Colorado River over millions of years. But the secret chambers show that humans also left their traces here, traces of complex architecture and perhaps spiritual rituals. This means that we must look at the canyon differently, not only as a natural monument, but also as a place of human history. Such finds could open new ways of exploring, protecting, and interpreting canyons worldwide, not only as geological archives, but also as cultural archives. The chambers could also be important for climate research. If the spring chamber had a stable microclimate, ancient deposits, sediments, fossils may have been preserved inside it, allowing in conclusions to be drawn about the climate inside the canyon thousands of years ago. These rooms would then be like natural time capsules, records of past wet and dry periods, frost and thaw cycles, and other environmental changes that have long since disappeared from the surface. Thus, the find becomes important not only for archaeology, but also for the study of the ancient climate and ecosystems of the American Southwest. Furthermore, the hidden location of the complex suggests deliberate planning. It was no coincidence that the builders chose such a difficult-to-reach place, hollowed it out with precision, equipped it with special objects, and connected it to a sophisticated water system. Dwellings in rock walls are rare in North America, which indicates that this place was used for special purposes, such as ceremonies, protection, or secret gatherings of important people. To better understand its use, one must rethink the spatial concepts of that time. How did earlier cultures define sacred or hidden places in a landscape like this? The discovery also raises new questions about the exploration of the canyon. Many of its areas remain inaccessible or barely documented to this day. The fact that significant archaeological and geological finds may be hidden in such remote zones changes the priorities of future expeditions. Instead of focusing only on the easily accessible paths along the river, research may in the future turn its attention to difficult-to-reach cliffs, hidden ledges, and vertical rock walls. This opens great opportunities, but also creates considerable risks. Researching such places requires special equipment, strict safety measures, and the utmost care to avoid damaging sensitive sites. The public image of the Grand Canyon is also changing as a result. It has always been a symbol of natural beauty and tourist fascination. Now, however, it is increasingly being seen as a space of deep historical mysteries. These hidden structures, which lay in shadow for thousands of years, transform the canyon from a purely natural phenomenon into a complex archive of human and natural history. This secret find in a forbidden part of the Grand Canyon shows that human history is far more complex than previously assumed. It raises fundamental questions about where people once lived, how they used remote areas, what tools they had, and how they interacted with nature. It means that not only rivers and time, but also people with purpose and knowledge shaped the walls of the canyon. This discovery touches many fields, from archaeology and geology to metallurgy and monument preservation. It changes the way we think about the relationship between humans and wilderness. The rooms in the canyon do not follow the natural fracture direction of the rock, but are aligned according to a uniform pattern. All chambers have the same angle in relation to the magnetic north of that time. This would hardly have been possible without knowledge of directions and magnetism. This suggests that the builders not only understood the shape of the canyon, but may also have had the knowledge to observe or use the Earth's magnetic field. One of the researchers involved compared this find to the discovery of an observation post in a rock wall, built before people even knew what an observation post was. This insight points to an astonishingly advanced understanding of space, orientation, and celestial alignment, far beyond what had previously been attributed to the ancient cultures of this region. Near the main chamber, another remarkable detail was documented. The ceiling of one of the rooms was covered with tiny pieces of crystal arranged in patterns. When the researchers used ultraviolet light, these crystals began to glow softly. They formed bright points that resembled a starry sky. When the pattern was mapped, it turned out to match constellations as they would have appeared in the sky about 15,000 years ago. If this age is confirmed, it would mean that people were already living in this region during the late Ice Age, much earlier than previously believed. Even more astonishing, the precise astronomical arrangement suggests that these people observed the stars with an accuracies comparable to the earliest known sky maps in the world. To examine the crystals, the scientists carefully took a small sample. It turned out that they were not naturally occurring quartz, but a silicate mixture with tiny metal particles. The chemical composition matched no known deposit in the canyon or in the surrounding plains. It was as if the ancient craftsmen had melted these minerals themselves, shaped them, and then inserted them into the still soft rock before it hardened again. This means that they were not only capable of working stone, but also of controlling fire and heat in a targeted and precise way, abilities previously attributed only to much later cultures. Evidence of such melted silicates from such an early period fundamentally changes previous ideas about technological development in prehistory. Farther inside, laser scans showed a perfectly smooth, balanced, and acoustically perfect tunnel that winds downward in a precise spiral form with an inclination angle of 7 degrees. When one of the researchers spoke at the entrance, the echo did not return distorted, but resonated harmoniously through the passage, producing an even, almost melodic resonance. This indicated that the size and shape of the tunnel had been deliberately designed so that sound waves would be reflected in a special way. In many ancient cultures, places with extraordinary acoustics played a central role, for example in religious rituals, meditations, or ceremonies understood as communication with gods or spirits. The possibility that similar ideas existed in this isolated canyon culture shows that people all over the world shared similar spiritual concepts, the desire to reach a higher level of consciousness through sound and resonance. This discovery also reopened old discussions about trade routes and migration movements. The combination of rare metals, advanced metalworking, and architectural precision points to contact with other regions, to exchange rather than isolation. Possibly, this place was a meeting point where knowledge, materials, and symbols were passed on, long before there were written records of complex cultural networks. What initially seemed like a hidden cult site in a rock wall may actually have been a gathering place, a place where travelers, spiritual leaders, or seers came together to perform rituals and share knowledge. A particularly puzzling finding comes from soil samples taken from the dome chamber. In a layer covered by mineral deposits that had accumulated over thousands of years, tiny human-made particles were found, small carbon spheres and metallic dust residue that could only have formed under extreme heat. Under the microscope, they looked like residues from modern metals smelting processes. Yet the layers in which they were found date from a time thousands of years before humanity supposedly knew how to melt metals. Some scientists proposed natural explanations, such as lightning strikes or micrometeorites. But the even distribution of these particles across several layers points to repeated, controlled, high-temperature processes. This suggests that the builders of the chambers used a form of energy or heat that is still unknown, possibly an early technique for vitrifying minerals or even controlling plasma. Further evidence of deliberate energy use came from magnetic field measurements. The interior of the dome showed an unusual magnetic pattern, a small but constant deviation compared with the surrounding rock. When measuring devices were placed around the edge of the chamber, they registered a steady low-frequency signal that pulsed every 12 seconds. Among the researchers involved, there were differing opinions. Some suspected that magnetic rocks had been deliberately aligned to amplify natural waves of the Earth's magnetic field. Others considered the signal to be a coincidence caused by the region's high iron content. But the regularly recurring pattern of the measurements strongly suggested that it had been deliberately produced, not random. If ancient people had actually influenced or used the Earth's magnetic field, it would be evidence of a worldview in which the Earth was understood as a living, vibrating being, long before modern science took up this idea. The cultural and philosophical consequences would be enormous. One would have to imagine a civilization that planned its structures not merely as shelters, but as resonance spaces, created to harmonize with the natural vibrations of the Earth. The idea that an ancient culture designed buildings so that they were in harmony with the sounds and energies of the Earth changes the entire understanding of early human civilizations. Instead of being primitive survivors, these people may have been conscious explorers of the interaction between nature, sound, magnetism, and spirituality. The mysterious chambers in the Grand Canyon could be a physical symbol of this understanding, a place where humans and nature merged. Such ideas point to a highly developed way of thinking, not a simple one. The metal object found in the upper chamber has also since been examined more closely in the laboratory. Advanced analyses showed that its composition does not match terrestrial metals. In particular, it has an unusually high proportion of the isotope nickel-58, which hardly occurs on Earth in this concentration. This discovery sparked a new debate over whether ancient civilizations may have used materials from meteorites or other cosmic sources. Some researchers consider it possible that the metal was obtained from an iron meteorite struck in prehistoric times. Others go further and suggest that the material was deliberately collected or even produced, an idea that, if proven true, would turn the entire understanding of human technological history upside down. Regardless of its origin, it is clear that this artifact and the chambers in which it was found show an extraordinary degree of knowledge, organization, and symbolic thinking. The precise construction, the complex choice of materials, and the astronomical alignment point to a society that worked in harmony with its environment and perhaps even tried to understand or represent universal principles. In the coming years, researchers will continue trying to decipher the secrets of this find. New technologies such as 3D mapping, geochemical analyses, and acoustic simulations are intended to help determine the origin, function, and meaning of the chambers. But beyond scientific curiosity, this find touches something deeper. It forces us to rethink the history of humanity. Perhaps progress was not always linear. Perhaps there were cultures that developed knowledge that was later lost. Cultures that lived with the earth instead of ruling over it. The Grand Canyon, once known only as a natural wonder, thus becomes a symbol of the hidden depth of the human past. Between its rock walls, the story of a civilization may be hidden, a civilization that lived in harmony with sound, lights, and stone, a culture that knew more than we ever believed it could. If these hypotheses are confirmed, the find would not only change our image of early American history, but also the entire understanding of human development. The chambers would then be not merely an archaeological mystery, but proof that our ancestors may, in some ways, have been more advanced than we are today. The Grand Canyon would no longer be seen only as the result of geological processes, but as a place where nature and humanity met, a living archive of stone, sound, and memory. And somewhere deep inside it, perhaps even more, is still waiting to be discovered.